Let's just suppose for a moment that you're in a position of responsibility in local government, and you hear about plans for a new shopping center in the area, and the price of property is likely to rise sharply once a public announcement's made. Should you tell your friend who owns property in that area and is thinking about selling? Should you buy property yourself with this $4? Maybe you've been struggling in a class that you need to pass to graduate, and you studied hard for the final, but you still aren't feeling confident. And a friend who took the exam earlier in the day has offered to tell you what's on it. Should you let it? Your ex-girlfriend has come to town and wants to have a friendly, casual lunch. Do you tell your wife? What should you do about these scenarios? And how long should you take to decide? You know, integrity is one of the abstract qualities that we all wish to possess. But it's often difficult to apply when it comes to real situations and practical dilemmas. There's only one body and one Spirit, writes the Apostle Paul to the Christians of Ephesus. Just as you are called to one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and in all. Notice the word one. It's repeated 7 times in 3 verses. One body, one Spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God. At the heart of integrity is oneness. Oneness. It means you are complete, you are whole, and undivided with one set of values. A church with integrity is not going to show love in one situation and hatred in another. People really do prefer to worship in places that have integrity. Of course, churchgoers also want good music and preaching and some Bible study and some small groups and some other things, but they appreciate a church with integrity. And that message, church with integrity, if we stuck it up on our sign, our marquee out front, isn't going to cause people to rush to the door. We can post it all we want out front. Church with integrity. And folks will not come flocking to the door, and neither will the message, everyone welcome, cause folks to come rushing through our doors either. In fact, the words church with integrity might make them suspicious, in much the same way that few are likely to trust a place called Honest Bob's Used Car Lot. You see, folks, integrity requires deeds, not words. Integrity requires actions. So what sort of deeds are involved to be a church with integrity? You know, the Apostle Paul suggests that we live with all humility and gentleness, with patience bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. You know, if we perform these actions and also practice speaking truth with love, then we'll grow up into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and knit together by every ligament with which it is equipped, as each part is working properly, promotes the body's growth in building itself up in love, says Paul. So notice this vision of integrity. The body of Christ joined and knit together, with each part working properly, building itself up into love. This is Paul's vision of the church. It's a community that is the physical presence of Jesus in the world today. Paul wants us to be a church with integrity, one that is whole and complete and undivided. So our work begins with humility and gentleness. And these are countercultural virtues in a world that seems to reward aggressive self-promotion. With people constantly bragging about themselves on Facebook and Twitter and other places, constantly promoting themselves and putting themselves to the forefront. A church with integrity has leaders who are apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. And Paul speaks of Christ giving gifts to individuals so they can perform these functions. But leaders are to exercise their gifts with humility and gentleness in order to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for the building up of the body of Christ. Now, I've known leaders in the church who say, "Look at me. Look at the gifts God's given me. Aren't these wonderful? And they're so much better than the gifts that God gave you. Boy, I'm really something in the church, aren't I?" If you're a leader in Christ's church, you lead and you serve with humility and gentleness. Next comes patience, a virtue I'm short on sometimes. I'll be right up front in a minute. And it's in terribly short supply in many places today, isn't it? You know, go ahead, Mom. Donna and I went out to eat the other day, and we needed to be someplace that evening or quickly. We went to our restaurant to eat, not to McDonald's. And we were getting impatient, waiting on our food. What should we expect? You know, it was a restaurant. It wasn't McDonald's. Anyway, we have our fast food industry. We've got Jiffy Lube. You know, we can go online shopping with same-day delivery. But God's work in the church takes time and patience. And I have a tendency sometimes to want to get ahead of God. Hurry up, God. Let's get this done. Let's get this done and over with. We need to move on to something else. Paul tells the Ephesians that they are coming to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to maturity, to the measure of the full status of Christ. But notice Paul says they are coming. They haven't arrived yet. They're in the process. And it may take a while to arrive. Unity, knowledge, maturity. All these qualities take time. And finally, we are to bear with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Whether the issue is women in ministry, praise music in worship, where to make cuts in order to balance the budget, or the myriad of other issues that face the church, there are going to be Christians of good faith on both sides of the questions. Christians of good faith on both sides. Paul instructs us not to attack each other, not to undermine each other, not to try to gain victory over each other, but instead to bear with one another in love. A church with integrity does this because there's nothing more important than being the undivided body of Christ in the world. People are drawn to a church that makes every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. We cannot share the good news of Jesus Christ if we are putting all of our energy into church fights. We can't. We're not sharing the good news. We're more interested in arguing and undercutting one another and getting our point across and our ideas pushed to the forefront. And when the church is like that, you are not sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. You are not effectively sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. And of course, important issues can't be ignored. So Paul recommends the practice of speaking the truth in love. This means that we speak the truth that has been revealed, we believe has been revealed to us by God, but we do it with love, without belittling or beating up people who disagree with us. And the church that remains committed to humility, gentleness, patience, bearing with one another, and speaking the truth in love, that's a church with integrity. And Jesus came with single-mindedness, his face set to the cross. One purpose: to save us. To save us from our sin. To restore us to a right relationship with God. Single-minded, with his eyes on the cross, he began that steady journey toward Jerusalem. A man of integrity.